'Cause tonight it's the night when two become one.
Hey guys, MasakoX here. With 2020 marching on, since it's March after all, it's time that we get back to one of our classic series, which follows the formula that we are the most familiar here on this channel. As you might be able to guess, we are reaching the point in the story which has become pretty muddled in recent times within the world of Dragon Ball Super. It's not aged that well. We all thought the time travel in the Cell saga was confusing. That can't hold a candle to what we got in the Goku Black saga. The fact that Toei had to make a visual diagram a visual aid to help explain the situation to fans of the show is a pretty major oof for all concerned. Especially the poor researcher who had to cobble that together and actually do the research. I hope they got a good bonus for making that. In any case, we are talking about the adventure of a Saiyan who started in the world of the Frieza Force under the control of Prince Vegeta, doing his bidding, and in general being a glamorously buff but also powerful sidekick and assistant. And we're not talking about Raditz here. Instead, we're talking about the other one. The one that got short-shrift in the end, despite actually doing everything right for Vegeta, doing nothing wrong, and that just got him burnt to a crisp. We have given him a chance to redo his life and make something of it with the power of friendship, gardening, as well as now, relationships. Today, we're returning to one of our longest series to date. We are returning to the place where we ask, what if Nappa turned good? By Goku giving him a chance, Nappa managed to reinvent himself into a very mellow and dependable friend who provided the Son family years of loyal service and a proper mentor for Gohan. Even though, yes, admittedly, there were some tempestuous years in the middle of it, around the Buu saga. Regardless, nowadays, Nappa finds himself still up there in the ranks of the Dragon team, but there is a real dilemma to face coming up. Old age. Old man Nappa. Yeah, old age and Saiyans don't really see eye to eye with one another because it's actually really rare for a Saiyan to get past 70 years old. Nappa here has. Both he and his future version. They are approaching the end of their useful life and they are struggling to keep up, with everything going on despite having the power of Beerus and Whis backing them up, as well as the heart of Cafe, present Nappa's partner, giving them life. In the last part, both the Nappas had reached their lowest ebb. They had been bested by Gohan Black and future Zamasu, and they were on the verge of quitting. However, Cafe wasn't going to take any of that. Shame on them! After a very stern talking to from the mint-haired artist, they were back in the game with a plan, and able to shake off the feeling of helplessness. However, the peppy nature of the two Nappas just isn't really enough to save the future on its own, on the second bounce. The resistance base is completely wasted when they return, and future Bra effectively bets her life on allowing our heroes the chance to escape and regroup for a third go at it. Future Nappa believes her to be a lost cause, but who knows what may happen? I mean, come on. Future Mai was able to survive somehow. I mean, I'm not mad about that. I mean, Future Mai is awesome, in case you weren't sure about that. We rejoin the team back in the present and in a right state. The previous trip had just left everyone in a muddle due to the fact that despite their best efforts, it was still a really embarrassing venture, if not worse from what happened the first time. This time though, they think they have the best chance to cause some real problems and headaches for Black and Zamasu, and avenge those that have fallen in the latest encounter. Out in the ocean calm, a far cry from the wasted cityscape of the future, Goku is doing his best training at Kame House. He is doing what he did in the original, obviously, in order to get his hold on the Mafuba technique. Now, as you may know, he is able to do so, but that is his own personal mission. Meanwhile, back in the city, the two Nappas are trying their best to keep in shape against Black and Zamasu. They know that they are much older than the rest of the team, and even though they had the power of God Ki giving them a leg up from what they could expect normally, more energy than any typical elderly Saiyan could ever hope to have, they are aware that they're starting to reach their upper limit. Future Nappa is particularly feeling the burn. He is slightly older than his present counterpart, and he'd just seen the last of his friends being swept away by these future villains. That's a big thing to take in. If it hadn't been for his friends in the past, he'd have absolutely no idea what to do or where to turn. One thing's for sure though, both of them know that the fate of every mortal in any time period may soon depend on what they do, on their actions. If they give up, they've given up on everyone and everything. But what can they do in such a short space of time? Can they perhaps go in the Room of Spirit in time and catch up? No, it's too uncertain. It's to do with their age again. They don't want to risk going in there and eating up what remains of their prime. They could walk in, spend a few days in there, and walk out 80 and then be useless. It would be a literal waste of time. The chamber is used, the ones training in there being Gohan and Vegeta. Even though the prince has come on leaps and bounds in the past couple of years, remarkably so, almost catching up to the team fully, he still needs some further boost from Gohan in order to try and make him any good. The guy is trying to mentor the prince as best as he can, even though the prince isn't exactly the most compatible sparring partner going for him. It's a real slog. With our Earthlings getting on with the usual process of training, Beerus and Whis head to Universe 10 with the mission to convince Gowasu to go to the future with them and help out our heroes against his rogue student. I mean, after all, it is partially his responsibility. The elderly Supreme Kai accepts this request, saying that even though that Zamasu is different to the one that he had seen, he needs to atone for his lack of perception, and this is the only way to do it in the eyes of his peers.
He needs to be stopped, or else everything will be stopped.
When everyone is ready and satisfied with their efforts, they are about to embark on the final battle. Before they go though, President Nappa bids farewell to Cafe, promising that they will return the usual. Cafe appreciates the gesture, sure, but is preparing herself to see her beau return battered and bruised, or even not return at all. She has to keep a straight face though, for his sake. The Nappas, Goku, Gohan and Future Bra all go into the future, with the others hanging back ready to go, being the support in the present. If the group fails, Vegeta taking charge of the group. Now, this is the first time he's actually been given this level of faith and responsibility in the team. It feels good. Hopefully this isn't the only time that this happens. The craft lands back in the future without a problem, and our team disembarks. They think that they have the advantage of surprise, but they're wrong. Gohan Black and Zamasu are already there waiting for them, anticipating that these fools would come back and try again, hopelessly. Gohan Black's residual memories felt that this might be the case. This body was correct then. They are far too tenacious. It will be their undoing. Sure enough, the future duo make themselves known in a lavish fashion as to be expected, and they are easily overpowering the group, pretty majorly actually. Future Bra manages to gather what remains of the troops, which is a really small group, probably just maybe 5 or 6, maybe, at most. Their mission is to try and distract the evildoers with whatever they can muster, and surprisingly, this is actually able to do something. Gohan Black's bluster gets the better of him, and his attention turns to the humans, and he is excited to wipe the slate clean for real this time, and this allows the present team to pounce. All of this toying around with the troops gives Goku the chance to use the Matha technique against Zamasu, but sadly, as you might expect, and be able to guess, he forgot the talisman, and the future Kai in training is able to escape the container, whoop-de-doo. The group are left in an absolute panic, furious at Goku for forgetting the thing that was vital for the Matha to work. How could he be so foolish? We're asking the same question. This leaves future Zamasu also in a state of panic. He was lucky to get out of that potentially disastrous situation for his plan. He has seen enough of these mortal fools now. In that moment, he decides to resort to a desperate measure, something he hoped he didn't have to do. He decides to fuse with Gohan Black. The time had come for the ultimate deity to make themselves known. Gowasu and Shin are there to witness it, and they are absolutely shocked. From what everyone can sense, the power of fused Zamasu is absolutely horrifying, and he hasn't even turned up the heat yet. On top of all this is the inclusion of Gohan's tactical mind, as well as his overall understanding of the people laid out before them. Now sure, Goku Black was physically stronger, but when it comes to compatibility, we feel that Gohan would have been a better candidate for Zamasu's interest. I think it would have been more efficient. It would have certainly given Gohan something to do in this arc. In one swift move, Fused Zamasu is able to wipe out all the soldiers without even looking at them. He just swipes his hand and they are effectively swiped out of reality. Future Bra is very lucky to just miss this, and seeing the faces of the comrades evaporate in the energy heat was just absolutely something that nobody should ever have to see. The four Saiyans are trying their best to match the Fused Godstrosity, but their attacks are deflected with little effort, and barely any more attention than what he gave the troops just now, that they received in their final moments existing. Zamasu is enjoying this, really enjoying this. He is simply toying with them, and seeing their feeling of hopelessness grow is one of the most entertaining things that he had seen all week. In the rubble, the two Nappas are left floundering, even more so than what they'd come to expect. Future Nappa slams his fist on the ground and curses.
That's useless! How are we supposed to counter that? Why are we even here?
Now this shocks present Nappa. He had never seen future Nappa this pessimistic before. It's usually present Nappa who did that. This was a big deal, and something that required a quick response. It may be a long shot, but what he has on his mind could make this showdown a little more even. Not a chance to win, most likely, but at least it could buy them some time. He approaches Shin, whilst future Zamasu was waxing lyrical about his triumphs, and asks Sakai for his set of Patara. Kawasu commends the idea, but it's quick to point out that, in their case, it would not be a permanent fusion, as neither of them are a Supreme Kai. The best they can hope for is 1 hour of fusion time. Present Nappa closes his eyes and sighs. Oh, I mean, what else can they do?
Hey, me!
Nappa shouts at his future counterpart,
Think fast!
and he tosses the earring to him. Future Nappa nods, understanding what his past self is planning on doing. The two Nappas are quickly drawn together, and they slam into each other, creating a brilliant flash of light which dominates the scene. This is bright enough, in fact, to even stop the fused Zamasu from harping on about his efforts.
Oh? What's with the light show? Don't tell me they have a plan of all things. How quaint.
Future Nappa and present Nappa have now turned into something they coin, in a mocking way to their foe, fused Nappa. Gowasu notes that just like double Zamasu's potential may be endless, the same could be applied to Nappa. And well, the corrupt Kai quickly learns about this massive increase in a very literal sense, after the first punch. This causes him to rapidly lose his cool, leaving a shocked expression on his face. He had not planned for anyone to actually be able to counter his powers. Fused Nappa's eyes are closed, paying no attention to the external pomposity of his opponent. He is completely focused.
How dare you strike a god, you lumbering oaf! I will teach you!
He gets interrupted by Nappa tossing him into a building. Yeah, that would do it. Fused Zamasu, in the midst of the rubble created, shoots a barrage of ki blasts at Fused Nappa. A red aura then starts to glow around the Saiyan, as his moustache, beard and eyebrows turn the colour red. Without much movement, he is able to block most of the projectiles. Zamasu meanwhile starts to slowly corrupt, his body turning purple in some places. He's getting furious and calling Fused Nappa an abomination. His attacks become stronger and more erratic, and Fused Nappa has to quickly go on the defensive, but he is able to hold his own pretty well.
We know what we must do, Zamasu. We have truly become one. We work as one. We fight as one. We are one. You, however, are falling apart. You are the abomination, and we are going to kick your corrupted butt out of this reality.
Goku shouts at Gowasu, asking for another pair of Patara, thinking that Nappa could do with some backup. He fuses with Gohan, and as Gokan, they help Fused Nappa counter the discombobulating deity. And together, they completely obliterate Zamasu, with a combination of the Kamehameha, as well as an exploding wave. We could call it the explosive Kamehameha. Now, you might think that this is enough to fully destroy Zamasu's essence, but it's not. Sadly, just like in the original, Infinite Zamasu is a thing, and they have to ask Zeno for help, so the victory is rather bittersweet. The only survivors of the future timeline are Future Nappa and Future Bra. Present Bulma offers Future Bra a home at Capsule Corp, but the girl realizes that she would feel weird in a universe that mirrors her own so closely, that isn't really connected with her. Gowasu actually offers her a place in Universe 10. Their universe could use a Capsule Corp of their own. Future Bra agrees to this, and promises that she will visit her friends from Universe 7 regularly. You see, this is a much better option than what Trunks and My God, I can assure you. Future Nappa and present Nappa are strangely quiet around this, ever since they defused in fact. Something happened when their minds combined, and when Gohan approaches them about it, they try to brush it off like it's nothing, but it's actually something. While Goku and Whis are on their way to introduce future Zeno to present Zeno, the Nappas take Kappa on a little journey around the world to gather the Dragon Balls. They want her to witness something. After they summon Shenron, they ask him for one thing, and that is to fuse them permanently into one being. Kappa is kind of shocked by this. Would this mean that the Nappa that she loved would be gone forever? Future Nappa explains that that won't be the case. For the first time in a long time, he felt like a constant would develop. he and present Nappa had gained a complete understanding of one another. Not to mention that as a fused being, this could lead to their lifespan being considerably lengthened. Future Nappa says that they had had good lives as separate beings. Since his universe is gone and all, he would be happy to stay here, and that they both decide that this will be the best course of action in the long run. Shenron is able to make that wish come true, and fused Nappa becomes a permanent thing. He lacks the double echoey voice thing, and although you cannot see much of a difference at first glance, Cathay knows the difference, and it's going to take us some time to get used to it. Together, they return to Nappa's garden, and that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you guys think? How will fused Nappa help in future events? Will this actually increase their lifespan, or is that just wishful thinking? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going, and I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!